Hey y'all, Jasmine here. How's everything going? I am super excited to talk to y'all today for our first blogging Q&A. Yay! All right, I already see some people showing up here. Hey Janice, uh, it's good to have you here. So like I said, I'm super excited, you guys. This is our first time doing a blogging Q&A on YouTube. So I know that I typically do at least one blogging Q&A in some of my private Facebook groups. And I wanted to switch it up and try it out here since I know that Chris and I are working on YouTube and building up our Blogging Money Life channel. So hopefully this will be helpful for many of you who are bloggers or you're interested in getting into blogging. I'm just going to be answering a lot of questions. Now, for those of you who this may be your first time, definitely feel free to jump into the little comment section here and ask whatever questions may come to mind when it comes to blogging. I know I got some questions beforehand in my Blogger Supporting Bloggers Facebook group. So I'm going to start with those, and then I'm going to make my way over to the comments here and answer those live towards the end. All right, so before I get into answering some questions, I wanted to introduce myself because I know for many of you guys, you may not know who I am. My face may not be all that familiar to you. But for those who don't know who I am, hi, I'm Jasmine. I am a blogger. I've been blogging for 10 years now. I blog over at Miss Mill Mag, and that's my blog I started with 10 years ago. I blog about, it's a lifestyle blog. It talks about how to become your very best self. And the content that we write about varies from um, learning more about blogging, different things about health and wellness, and just different things that become your best self. I have had a lot of ups and downs with my blog, but I can say that my blog has consistently brought an income for me every month for several years now. I want to say probably the last 5 or 6 years in my blogging journey here. And not only that, but I've taught other bloggers how to make money with their blogs, mostly with my courses. I love doing different webinars and teaching other bloggers in various ways. And I just started doing YouTube videos to teach bloggers. So this is something that I've not only done, but I love talking to other bloggers about blogging in general. It is something I can honestly say does not get old to me. I really enjoy it. I can talk about blogging all day long. So I hope that it shows when we start talking through some of these questions that you guys have given me. So let me know in the comments who's here. I see a couple of hays. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad that you're all joining. All right, so I'm going to jump right in then. I have a few questions in my, like I said, my Blogger Supporting Bloggers group for people who have questions beforehand, and then I'll get to any questions that you guys have in the comments after. Okay, starting with my first question I received, how do I drive traffic to my blog? This is a very popular question that I receive, and it's a good one too, because I know that for many bloggers, not getting enough traffic is one of the main reasons why they stop blogging. It can be very frustrating when it comes to bringing in income with your blog if you're not getting traffic. So, valid question. And I'm going to answer with a little bit of a complicated answer and say there are a lot of ways to drive traffic to your blog. I'm going to start with the free ways to do it, and then make my way over to the paid ways to bring in traffic with your blog. So I think one of the first things that you can do when it comes to driving traffic to your blog is making sure that you're promoting your content on social media. Of course, like if you're a blogger, you're very familiar when it comes to anything social media, right? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, like there's the list goes on and on. There's literally like a new social media channel every single year. But if you're writing content on a regular basis, you want to make sure that you're sharing that content on all those channels. And not just when you publish your article. For me, what I typically do is if I share an article on the day that it got published, I try to make sure that we're sharing it a few more times throughout that week that the article was published. and then I put it into a rotation. So I use a tool called Social Beat. And what this does is it allows you to put your content into different categories, right? So you have a category that's dedicated, for example, to travel content. And then you have another category that's dedicated to, I guess, health and fitness. And what it does is I set up my calendar to say, okay, on Mondays, I share an article about health and fitness. On Tuesdays, I share an article about travel. So all my travel articles are getting recycled and posted on social media on a regular basis. That's not exactly how I do use Social Bee, but that's one way you could do it. The point is, like, once an article is published and shared, it automatically goes into my automatic social media sharing thing so that an article doesn't die. It's continually being shared on all my social media channels. One thing that I really love about sharing your content this way is because there's so many different uses for it. One of my favorite ways is when you're thinking about seasonality, right? So I have a lot of content about Christmas, but obviously I'm not sharing it throughout the year. I share it around Christmas time. So of course you want to make sure that you use a tool like that to share it seasonally. So that's the first way, social media. Probably an obvious one, but I wanted to throw in a little tip there in case you guys don't know about the content sharing method that I use. Another way is through SEO. For those of you who aren't familiar with SEO, it stands for search engine optimization. And that's doing things to your website and just on the internet in general so that you get more traffic to your blog posts organically. So when people are searching on Google, they find their way onto your blog somehow. I was not a big, what's the word for this? I wasn't good at it just a couple of years ago as far as like doing SEO. I did the basic things that a lot of bloggers said to do. I downloaded the Yoast plugin, right? That's free. I can do that. I did everything it told me to do, and that was pretty much it. And I got some organic traffic, not a whole lot. It wasn't until I started really focusing in on SEO in this last year and a half, I want to say, that I really saw my search engine optimization traffic take off. I actually went from SEO being just one of the smaller ways I drive traffic to my blog to the number one way that I get traffic to my blog. And I did it mostly through doing enough research before I wrote my article. So I did things like keyword research. I just went on Google and I looked for what people were searching for. I would search for a topic and then I said, okay, this seems to be doing really well as far as a keyword. What can I write about to make it so that I get those people who are asking this question to my blog? So that's pretty much what I did. If you're wondering about, well, how did you know what people are searching for or how many people are searching for a certain term, I use a tool called Keywords Everywhere. It's a really inexpensive tool that you can download on Google Chrome and then just start doing some searches. And from there, you can get an idea like, okay, you have 1,000 people who are searching for this search term every month, or you have, 50 people searching for this term a month. And if you think about the number of people who are searching and then clicking on your article, well, then the numbers just start to add up for you. So search engine optimization is another great way to drive traffic to your blog. Another thing that I like to do is I do something called interlinking, which is still, very SEO focused, but what it does is it makes your website sticky. So one of the rules that we have for Miss Mill when it comes to the content that I write, I make sure that I add in links for older content into our new content. Right. So if you're writing an article, let's say, for example, I wrote an article about 10 ways to make money with side hustles. What I would do from there is if I have another article related to side hustles, I'll say, oh, check out this article too, because I talk about side hustles in this one, if you're interested in these particular side hustles. So I'll do different things like that, like have different links that make sense in my content. And while that may not seem like a big deal, it definitely makes a big difference when it comes to just getting people to stay and continue to read your content. So they'll go from one article to the next, and the next thing you know, they're on your email list, they're commenting, and they're coming back every time you publish a new article. So that's definitely something valuable that you can do as well when it comes to getting more traffic to your blog and also keeping the traffic on your blog. All right, so what do we talk about so far? Ways to drive traffic. Social media, that should be a big, obvious one. Making sure that you're focused on SEO. Also another important one. And then I think on the social media side, there are so many different things you can do. I talked about sharing your content on a regular basis. But one thing that I like to do is I share on something called Tailwind Communities. So Tailwind is a social media platform, social media sharing tool that I also use that's relevant more to Pinterest. And what they have are something called communities. In these communities, the way it works is you share a pin there, and then people have the option to share it to their channels if they like. And in return, you share other people's content. What I love about this is it's not one of those, like, the Facebook groups where you share mine, I share yours. You actually get options, right? You can decide what you want to share. And so long as you're sharing the same amount of content that as long as you're sharing other people's content as much as you share your own, you won't get kicked out of the group. Whenever I want a nice little boost of traffic to a blog post, I go to Tailwind Communities and I go ahead and I share my pins there. And yeah, I get a nice little boost of traffic. So I think those are probably the big ones that I follow: social media, SEO, and just little tips in there. And honestly, between those two big categories, I feel like there's a lot that you can do to get more traffic. All right, so that was a good question. All right, so I have another question. This one came from Michelle McDonald, and she asked, how do I gain engagement on my blog? And I think that's a good question. I guess the first one is, what do you mean by engagement? Are you talking about traffic? Are you talking about getting more people into your comments? Or are you talking about your social media in general? How are you getting more people to engage there? Depending on which one you're thinking of, it's going to vary. If I'm going to go by the engagement on your blog for comments, one good way to get comments on your blog, I think, that's an opportunity to go into the Facebook groups where you're sharing. I share yours, you share mine. And I think that's fine, because in those cases, you say I comment on your blog post and you comment on my blog post. And that benefits you, because as long as you guys are interested in each other's content and you can read the article and comment on it, it still looks good to Google. Google loves seeing comments on your blog post, and it's another great way to get traffic to your site. As far as engagement on your social media, now that one is a little more complicated, and I'll tell you why that is. For example, Instagram. I think Instagram is one of those channels where everyone wants engagement. Everyone wants to see that people are actually enjoying and liking and commenting on the content that you share. And for that one, I would say be social. Be social on social media. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I feel like we get into this habit where we just kind of post and run instead of actually engaging people. Ask questions like, hey, this thing happened to me. I wrote this blog post. Why don't you reply and tell me what your thoughts are on this thing? And I feel like that's probably a good way to engage people on all channels. I know I started doing that with my newsletters, for example, on my blog. Most of them, I'll probably ask them a question like, hey, I'll tell a story about myself. And then I say, has this ever happened to you? Reply and let me know. And man, I get replies on almost every email that I send, because I'm engaging them. I'm not just talking at them. So just keep that in mind when it comes to engagement of any kind on social media, on Pinterest, on Instagram. I think Pinterest is a little more difficult, because that's one where they had comments and then took them away, and then you got comments again. But if you want people to engage with you, you have to engage with them. I say go comment on other people's content. Make sure that you're sharing their things and just having a conversation and continuing that conversation on. Think about how you are on social media when you're not in blog mode, and try to replicate those things within your blog. So I think that's one way to get more engagement on your blog. All right, so our next question, this one had 22 votes in the Bloggers Supporting Bloggers group. So it's pretty high there as far as how many people want to know the answer to this question. And it is, how do I monetize my blog? And this is a good one, because that's what we all want to know, right? I don't know many bloggers who got started because it was just something to do for fun. I know they're out there. I know there are plenty of bloggers who say, I just wanted to get my ideas out here for everyone to read. But most of the bloggers I know, they started blogging because they wanted to make money with it. And I find it interesting that a lot of times it's not really that easy to figure out, well, how do I do this? I feel like there's different answers depending on which blogger you ask. Um, so I can go through a few of the ways that you can bring in income with your blog. I'll tell you the first way I made money with mine, and that was with sponsored posts. So I love sponsored posts because you don't have to have a whole lot of traffic on your blog. You don't have to have a ton of email subscribers or a lot of social media followers to do well when it comes to monetizing your blog, or when it comes to sponsored posts. All it is when a brand decides like, hey, I like your blog. I think you're targeting the same audience I'm trying to reach. Could you possibly promote my brand on your blog, and I'll pay you X amount of dollars to do it. My first sponsored post, I got $50 for an opportunity. And I was so excited about that $50 because, prior to that, I did have Google AdSense on my site, and I was making like, I don't know, 3 cents a month or something. So I wasn't paid. I didn't get paid anything initially with Google AdSense. But when someone's offering me $50, I was like, man, I just like hit the lottery here as far as like this. And I was already going to write a blog post about this particular topic, and all I got to do is mention this brand now while I'm writing my article. Sounds awesome. So I think that's one of the first ways that you can make money with your blog. Of course, when it comes to sponsored posts, the hardest part is finding those opportunities. My first thing I would do is sign up for different influencer networks. That's a really good way to get people to find the brands that are looking for bloggers. So I have a list of 150 influencer networks. I'll go ahead and I'll share those with you guys at the end of this presentation so that y'all have that and you can go and start monetizing that way. I mentioned advertising as well. That's a great way to bring in income. The only thing about that is you want to make sure that you have traffic. Like I said, I was making like 3 cents in a given month with Google AdSense when I first started because I wasn't getting that much traffic. It's still good to have the ads there because the traffic will come eventually. But yeah, another great way to bring in income with your blog. So advertising, sponsored posts, affiliate marketing is another really, really good way to monetize your blog. And you do that by, you partner with a brand similar to sponsored posts, but what you do is instead of them paying you up front, they pay you for the number of clicks or leads or sales you generate for that brand. You get your own link that tracks all the people who are coming from your site. That way you get credit for those sponsored opportunities, of course. And what's great about this is you can make way more money than you probably would with a sponsored post. I'm not going to say that's the case for all of them. I know some people are making like enough money for a sponsored post that will last them an entire year. But with affiliates, it's kind of one and done. You can write an article about an affiliate one time and continue to make money with it every month. I have an affiliate like this on my blog that's doing so good right now. Actually, this month is the best month for it for me. And I have done nothing except just to watch it and say, oh, I made this much money with this affiliate today. It's awesome. I'm making money when I sleep. So affiliates are a great way to make money with sponsored posts. It looks like I got a couple of questions about monetizing. All right, so it says Facebook user says, do you recommend reaching out directly to a brand or using those influencer platforms? That's a good question. So I say both. If there's a brand that you really love, like something that you're using yourself and you say, oh my goodness, I love this. I'm already talking to my friends about this. I should see if they have an affiliate program and then write a blog post because your enthusiasm for that product is going to come through in your writing. And that's really what sells when it comes to affiliate marketing. If you didn't try out a product before, I said affiliate marketing. I'm talking about sponsored posts. But yeah, if there's a product you like, definitely reach out to the brand. When it comes to the influencer platforms, I think that's a good opportunity too. It's a little bit different though, because a lot of times what they'll say is, hey, I'm looking for a blogger that has an audience with this. For me, they're typically saying something like millennials who would be between these ages. That's who we want to target. And at that point, I'm looking and say, okay, that's my audience. Now, do I agree with this product? I'll give you a good example. There's always a lot of food brands who are looking for millennials between a certain age. And that's not my vibe. Like, I don't write about recipes or, how to use this specific food in something. So I typically just kind of steer away from those type of sponsored opportunities. So you do have to be a little more selective when you're going through the influencer networks. But if you reach out to a brand directly, I just feel like it can come to a more authentic place. And a lot of times my favorite thing is if I can get a sponsored post opportunity and an affiliate partnership with them. So they'll pay me upfront and I'll continue to make money for people who click on the links and buy the product through the article. So that's a good question. I think you can do both. You guys, I just realized I can share the questions with you guys. So I'm going to do that. So Janice has a question. She says, when should you start applying for sponsored posts? Oh, and that is such a good question too. Like I mentioned, you don't have to have a whole lot of traffic when it comes to applying for sponsored posts. I didn't have a whole lot of traffic when I was applying for sponsored posts. I made enough traffic to make 3 cents a month with Google AdSense when I got my first sponsored post opportunity. What I think matters more when it comes to doing sponsored posts is making sure you have checked off the boxes when it comes to, is your blog in a position to be consistent on its own? And if it is, then I think that you can start applying for sponsored posts. Consistent, I mean, do you write at least one blog post a week on your blog? Are you reaching out to your email list on a regular basis? Are you posting on social media on a regular basis, not sporadically, like, oh, I remember it, so I'm going to post here right now, or let's come up with a blog post even though I haven't written one in 3 months. If you're still doing that sporadic stuff, you're not ready to start applying for sponsored posts. But if you've been consistent, for a couple of months maybe with your content, then start reaching out, apply for those opportunities on influencer networks, and definitely reach out and start partnering with some brands. But you better believe before they consider you, they are looking at those things. Are you actually consistent on your blog? Another thing that I think is important to have if you're planning on working with brands is a work with me page. So your work with me page should make it easy for them to contact you. It should tell a little bit about your brand so that people know how much traffic are you getting to your site, for example. What's the demographics? Are they a certain age? Are they in a particular location? Have all of those things on your blog so that brands know that they can reach out to you. I know, like, I've been on the other side too, where I've reached out to bloggers to partner with them for products for my day job and also for just other side hustles that I've done. And I've seen bloggers who have their audience is perfect for what I'm looking for, and they don't have a contact page, or they don't have an email address, or make it easy for me to reach out to them. So that's just an opportunity I had to pass on because I couldn't reach out to them. So as long as you have those things in place, you're consistent, you have a work with me page, and you're getting to a point where you're more serious with your blog, start applying. I don't think there is a minimum, so long as you know who your audience is and you're reaching out to them on a consistent basis. Good question, Janice. I love it. All right, I'm loving these questions coming in. Let's see here. Well-balanced wallet. Yay. All right, she says, hey, Jasmine, what stats are important to highlight on your media kit? All right, so let me talk to you guys about what a media kit is. It's something that is similar to what I just showed you guys, a work with me page is. If you, for example, don't want to put all your stats out there for everyone to see on your website, you can have a media kit. And this is just like a PDF document that you put together. It has like a picture of you looking cute, and you have like different stats about your blog, and just things that brands should know when it comes to working with you. Where can you post? Like, do you do social media posts? Do you do videos? And then what other things that could you possibly do that you've done before? Do you have examples of your previous work? You can put links to that on there, and then show them some pictures too of like what social media on your website looks like, or I don't know, anything that you want a brand to know about you. As far as stats that are important to highlight in your media kit, I think some big ones that brands look for: your demographics for sure. If you know what sex they are, like male, female, if you know where they live, are they mostly in the States? Are they in another country? Are there specific cities where they are? And that's important too, because there are a lot of brands who are focused on a specific location. I had to learn the hard way. I'm in San Antonio, Texas, you guys, for those who don't know. And I am not a local blogger. I'm just not. I don't have a whole lot of people in San Antonio who read my blog. Most of my readers are either in California or New York. So brands who reach out to me and want me to do something local just doesn't really work for me. So make sure that they know that information. Other important information. If you have examples of previous work, I think that's just going to save you time. I have gone back and forth before with brands because they're interested in me and they like my stats and everything, but they're like, well, how do we know we're going to like her work? What is this actually going to look like? Can you provide samples or examples of things you've done in the past? So if you can include different examples of sponsored posts or affiliate articles or sponsored tweets or something you've done before, that's something cool you can add to. If you have never done a sponsored post before and you're like, well, how do I add that information into this article if I've never written it? You can kind of fake it. You don't have to get paid for those opportunities to share. This is what my work looks like. You can find tweets you've done or just find a product that you like and tweet about it. Take a picture of the tweet, add it to your media kit. If there is an affiliate program that you're a part of, that you wrote a good article about, that's something else you can share. They don't have to know that it wasn't a sponsored post, it was just an affiliate article. So those are some things that you can highlight in your media kit. I do like that question though, so thanks, Well Balanced Wallet. Really good one. All right, y'all, keep the questions coming. While they are still coming in, I am going to make my way to some of these other questions we got in the Blogger Supporting Bloggers group. Mr. John says, how do we like and subscribe? Hey, you can like and subscribe by hitting the like and subscribe button here. I definitely want to continue to do these Q&As with everyone and letting everyone know more about blogging because, like I said, I can talk about it all day long. So, yeah. All right. So I'm going to, now, oh, here we go. All right. I'm going back to my questions here. How do I get more sponsored post deals? Okay, I'm loving how many questions there are about the sponsored posts. One, I think the influencer networks are a good way to do it. We talked about reaching out to brands. That's another good way to go about getting more sponsored post deals. If you're asking the question as far as I'm applying for sponsored posts on influencer networks and I'm not getting the reaction that I want to get, how do I go about getting more of those reactions? I have a few tips here that I can give you that has really helped me when it came to applying. One, apply more. I feel like if you continue to apply, you kind of get a feel for what brands are looking for in these opportunities. So the more you apply, the more you'll learn, the more you'll get picked for. The second thing I would say is make sure that you're reading through all the details that they are asking for and make sure you're answering what they're looking for in the answers. So long story short, if you've ever applied for a job, you know how they say, make sure that you're filling out everything, make sure that you're reading through the job description and including some of those keywords that they put in the description into your cover letter and updating your resume so that it fits in with the job. You should be doing the same thing for applying for sponsored post opportunities on influencer networks. One of the big things I realized, and it was just like night and day difference once I started doing this, is most of the influencer network opportunities I see, they have a question that says, is there anything else you'd like to add? Or what other things should we consider to pick you? And they make the question optional. And this is the trick, you guys. They really want the people who are filling this out. If you are just skipping past it because it says optional, well, I guarantee you there are a few other bloggers over there who are actually filling that question out. And they're looking for those who are going to go above and beyond. So don't skip the questions that say optional. Give them an answer and give them a good one. Make it thoughtful. and talk about your personal experience with their product or their brand, or maybe a problem that you face. Like, don't be afraid to like really get real with them and say, I've been using this product since I was 6 years old and I still use it, or this product helped my best friend. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I would love to learn more. That's perfectly fine to share it with them. I think at the end of the day, they're just looking for a little bit of humanity there. And that's why brands decide to work with bloggers. Like, they want that human side of you. If they wanted to just make it nice and cold and just talk about their brand, they can just pay for advertising, pay for a billboard or something. But they want to see that human side of you so that you can connect with their audience and really get them to understand their product from a different perspective. All right, so I think that's a good question. Oh, I'm seeing more questions pop in here. So I have a question from Ways to Hunt. What are the top ways you can make money from blogging? All right, so top ways. I think, oh, let me put your question back up there, I'll answer it. The top ways, I named a few. I said sponsored posts, advertising, and affiliate marketing. If you aren't making money right now, I think those are probably the best ways to get started with making money with your blog. But ways that I think are the top ways, I would say affiliate marketing is probably on the top of my list there, just because set it and forget it, man. Like, you write a blog post, it does well, and you go on to the next one and you continue to make money that way. One method I didn't mention when it comes to making money with your blog before, but I think it's definitely one of the top ways, is with products. If you have a product, you don't have to worry about paying the middleman as far as like if you're doing affiliate marketing. Let's say, for example, you're selling a product for $100 and they're giving you 30%, you're only making $30. But if you have a product that you're selling for $100, well, now you made $100. You don't have to worry about them going out of business or anything like that. You have so much control over everything. So I think products are probably one of the top ways you can make money with your blog. I love doing sponsored post opportunities because for a couple of reasons. One, man, it can just vary as far as how much money you can make. And they kind of feed off each other. I feel like if you do one big sponsored post opportunity that did well for a brand, I often have seen like one brand say, hey, I saw you work with this company and they told me about you and I would like to work with you too. So they kind of compound on one another, which is great. You get really cool stuff doing sponsored posts. Like, I love getting free stuff, honestly. Like, it's just something really nice about it. I can't even begin to tell you about all the things. My printer, I got that for a sponsored post. My mattress, and what did I get this week? I got like a neck massager deal. I got to try out like all this free food. So I love getting all the freebies that come with doing sponsored posts, which is nice. And then something else I like about sponsored post opportunities is that you have someone else who's kind of challenging you to be better. So, when you're a blogger, you're the boss, right? You do what you want to do, you publish what you want to publish. And when you work with a brand, it can be a little challenging initially because they're saying, well, we don't like that. Or can you change it? Or can you optimize this a little bit better? Or they'll have editors or someone else who's looking at your content and giving you feedback on how it can be improved. So it gives you an opportunity to really grow when you're doing different sponsor post opportunities too. So yeah, I think if I had to pick, the top ways would be affiliate marketing, sponsor posts, and products. So really good question. Good question. All right. Ways to Hunt. You have another question here. How do we close a deal with our sponsors? How to close a deal. So I guess you mean by like negotiating with your sponsors as far as like how much you want to charge. I have a really cool product. It's called the Sponsored Post Pricing Toolkit. And I think if you know how much you should be charging based on like your traffic and your page, your domain authority, how many social media followers you have, and just the different things that you're willing to do to help the brand, I think that helps a lot. You don't want to pitch a brand and go too low because obviously no one really wants to work for free. You don't want to go too high either because that can also like throw a brand off when it comes to working with you. And, if you go too high, they may say like, okay, this person doesn't know what they're doing. I'm going to, go elsewhere. So I think having the right price in mind as far as like what you should be pitching, I'll share the details for that in the comments in a minute here. And then as far as knowing what to say to them, I also have a lot of email templates included in that kit that shows you how to pitch a brand, how to reply to people who are saying like, hey, I like your blog and I want you to work for me for free. What to say to them so that they actually pay you. And then just going back and forth and negotiating, knowing what you have on the table. They're coming to you for a reason, obviously, right? And being able to say, well, I have this many years experience at my day job, so that can make me a better blogger for this particular opportunity. Just knowing what things you have in your arsenal so that you can also, get the deal. So good question. All right. Yay, I'm glad it was helpful for you. Way to hunt. All right, another question. This is from a Facebook user. Do you think blogging alone is profitable? Or do you think having multiple mediums to showcase your content, i.e. YouTube, podcasts, etc., is a way to start running your blog? Oh man, that's a good question. And you're asking because I have a blog, right? And I also have a YouTube channel now. So I answer your question. Yes, I do think blogging alone is profitable. I think it took me a while to figure out blogging, but if I were to start another blog right now, I feel like I could make it profitable so much faster. Just because there's so much more knowledge out there. There's so many people out there making money with their blogs and doing well. I think the biggest reason why we don't see more blogs that are profitable is because there's so much information out there. I know that was the good thing, right? But that's also the bad thing. And it's so easy to go like, squirrel, look at this new shiny thing. And there's literally like a new social media platform every single year. It's like, it is so easy to get distracted with blogging. But if you continue to do it and you listen and you are looking at this like, okay, what am I going to grow this month? How am I going to hit my goals this month? You can definitely do it. I know this month for my blog, I'm close to getting to 10K, and I'm not monetized on my YouTube channel right now, not yet. I'm still a baby on YouTube. Thank you for coming. But yeah, I definitely think it's still profitable. As far as like, do you think having multiple mediums is a good idea? Absolutely. I can only imagine like what it'll be like once I have my blog income and I have YouTube income. The only thing is that it is not easy to manage. It's not easy to manage all of those things. I feel like if you want to go that route as far as doing multiple channels, I think it's a good idea to kind of figure out one, master it, hone it in, make sure that it's something that it's almost on autopilot for you, and then go on to the next medium. Because I think having too many of them too can hinder your progress on all of them. And I know this, I say this as a type A person who is known for stretching myself too thin. All my friends know, they know this about me, and I'm not going to try to deny it. So yeah, I would say that yes, I think it's a good idea, but definitely pace yourself because it can also be detrimental to all of your success for your channels. So good question. All right, I have another question here from Faye. Faye says, what do you think of other blogs who charge a fee to guest post on their blog? Faye, for this, I say to each their own, right? Are they getting paid? Are they doing what they need to do as far as like following the rules for Google and what's the other one? The FTC? Then yeah, to each their own. I think those emails can be really annoying coming to you. And so long as you set your boundaries and say like, hey, this is what is okay and this what isn't, I think that you should be perfectly fine. I'm not judging either way. Blogging is such a different thing. And if you ask me like what's one way to monetize versus someone else saying like what's the top ways to monetize, it's going to be different based on different people's experiences, right? So yeah, I personally like getting different guest posts on my blog just because I feel like it brings in another element of different voices. And I think that works for a lifestyle blog. I want someone to talk more about their experience with relationships, and I want someone to talk more about what it's like to go through, something that happened to them in their life that I can't really speak to. So yeah, I think guest posts are okay. Some people like to do the fees for that, and if they want to do that, that's perfectly okay. But yeah, just be mindful of the rules and making sure that you're not offending people along the way. Good question. Janice says, what is the hardest thing about blogging? Ooh. The hardest thing about blogging, I would say it's two things. One, staying focused. I feel like all the years where I wasn't making money on my blog is because I was all over the place. I would be gung-ho, like, yes, everything Instagram, I'm all about this. And I'm not tracking any of the work I'm doing on Instagram. And oh, here's this new thing called, this new social media channel. I'm going to focus on that. So just not finishing. I think focus can be a big thing that makes it difficult for blogging. And then the other part is just sticking with it. And I think it's hard to stick with it because it's easy. It feels like nothing's happening. I've been in those long spells where I feel like nothing I'm doing works. Why am I still doing this? I should just quit blogging. And man, it's kind of crazy to say that now because, like I said, I've been making money with my blog for years now. It's not even something I wonder, like, am I going to make money with my blog this month? Yes, of course, you do every month. But yeah, there was a point where I didn't feel like I would. So yeah, I think sticking with it is probably the hardest thing. And with that too, I think it means like staying consistent, sending one blog post this week and then not going for months doing it, and then eventually saying, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore because it's so much work. It takes so much time. So yeah, I would say staying focused and just sticking with it. You may be closer to hitting your goals than you may think. If you asked me 3 months ago that I would be doing awesome with affiliates, I would have told you, nah, maybe in my dreams, but not really. But that is the case. Affiliates are doing really well. And it's just because I focused on it and I stuck with it. And it didn't take a long time to get there. So yeah, I would say that is the hardest thing. All right, man, you guys, these have been some really, really good questions. And I'm glad that you all decided to stick around and do this with me. If you liked it, definitely give me a like on the video. Let me know what other questions you have, and I'll try to get an answer to you guys in the next 24, 48 hours or so. And definitely like and subscribe so that you can watch our next live blogging Q&A. Loving all the questions, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.